me. Help me.
This is Joseph in prison, and he got here falsely accused. Let's see how he even got to Egypt. So in the land of Canaan, his brothers sold Joseph to some merchants who were going to Egypt. It was a very long journey going to Egypt, but God was with Joseph. The merchants sold Joseph to a man named Potiphar, an assistant of Pharaoh. One day Joseph was working, and he thought it was going to be a regular day. And Potiphar's wife says this. Then Potiphar comes home. And then she tells her a lie. That's how Joseph got to prison. And 13 years later, while in prison, Pharaoh summons Joseph. Pharaoh summons Joseph because he believes he can tell the meaning of dreams from a previous event. And then he tells his dream and Joseph answers it. And then, to everybody's surprise, Pharaoh makes Joseph governor of all of Egypt. So he went from prisoner to governor. As you know, this is a story of Jonah. But let's see how he got into this terrible mess in this storm. So Jonah is a prophet, and God told Jonah to go to the corrupt city of Nineveh to deliver the message that God would destroy the city of Nineveh if they don't change their bad behavior. But Jonah wants the city of Nineveh to be destroyed, so then he refuses and goes the opposite direction. God is upset by this. And that's how he got into this terrible mess. He got onto a boat and God sent this huge storm. And Jonah tells the crew to throw him overboard and they will be saved. But then the crew doesn't want to. But then at last, they have to. Because they see no other choice. But God isn't done with Jonah yet. God sends a huge fish to save Jonah. And all of a sudden, the storm is calm. And deep below the sea, Jonah is in the fish's belly. Jonah prayed to God for 3 days and 3 nights without food. And God tells the fish to spit Jonah out onto land. And then God says this. This time Jonah agrees and goes. Jonah calls the people over, And Jonah says exactly this: 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. And the people believe, and they change their hearts to good. And God is very happy with that. And he decides not to destroy the city of Nineveh anymore. Now this next example is King David, but he is not king yet. He is running away from King Saul, who is trying to kill him. People heard of David's exile and have come to join him. Meanwhile, the Philistines attack the village of Keilah, and God tells David to save the village. Then David holds a meeting with the prophet Gad and the priest Abiathar. However, some people of Keilah were impressed and joined David's army. Then Saul's army arrives a moment later, and then Saul realizes it's too late, and then he's told that David is hiding in En-Gedi. Then they march off to En-Gedi. Then Saul sees a cave and decides to rest in it. But little does he know that David is at the back of the cave. This is where we see David's true character. He walks over to Saul, and he could have killed Saul, but he doesn't. And he just takes a piece of his robe. And later, David comes out of the cave with Saul and confronts Saul. He says, "I could have killed you last night. Why do you keep hunting me? I mean you no harm." And Saul looks at his own cape. And he says, "I am ashamed, David. I will leave you alone now." Soon, David learns this is an empty promise, because Saul comes back for him while the Philistines are chasing him. And David spares Saul's life again. But then, one day, the Philistine army confronts Saul. Saul is so worried because the Philistine army was really big. And one day in the battle, he asks his servant where his sons are, and the servant replies with, "All dead." So then he asks his servant to kill him, but his servant refuses, so then Saul kills himself. The Philistine army wins this war. David will go back to Judah as the people welcome him as king. All these stories have one thing in common: that God was with his people at all times, even in the difficult times. Like Joseph and Jonah in the fish's belly, God was still with him. And David, when King Saul was trying to kill him, God was with him and protected him. You see, even in the darkest times like this, the sun can still shine on you. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please like and subscribe.